Los Angeles, I'm in most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying,
Los Angeles.
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of your six-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on Thursday, August 14th. The LA Galaxy getting ready for a Saturday matchup with Inter Miami all the way across the country, all the way down on that dangly little piece on the East Coast, just sort of flipping out there in the Atlantic Ocean, the Gulf of Mexico, just flopping around there, doing that thing. That's where the Galaxy are headed. We're going to tell you about that game. We're going to tell you about what you can expect from the LA Galaxy, whether this is a distraction from Leagues Cup more than anything, and does Miami feel the same way because they also have a Leagues Cup game. We'll talk some LA Galaxy news and anything that sort of pops up, including what they said at the press conference yesterday. So to help me do all that, we're glad to have him back in the room where it happens, Mr. Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira. Eric, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. Yeah, shout out to Leslie Odom Jr. performing in Cerritos this week. Again, there you go, hometown hero. Again, I'm not there, but just figured I'd give the shout out since we left the opening there. We like to go with the opening. Hey, big gulps, huh?
Big gulps, huh?
Yeah. I think the new one is going to be, hey, this isn't where I parked my car. It's been a little while. It's been a little while since I've seen you. Haven't been here. Leagues Cup schedule. You've been, having the brave front solo shows and, getting back with the Panda recently. But, you were a brave man getting through it, getting us through the Leagues Cup. I think we learned that maybe you don't need co-hosts. The winning streak is you doing solo shows on Fridays and on Sundays and weird days. That's the key to success for this 2025 LA Galaxy.
Every Friday, we did that one show on Friday, and we were like, "Why are we doing this?" And then I did it again.
Idea.
Then I did it again the next Friday, and I was like, "Why am I here? What are we trying to do with all that?" No, I'm glad we're back on a normal schedule. Actually, it was funny because I was talking to the Galaxy. I was talking to Kevin Acevedo at the Galaxy, and we were he's like, hey, here we are on a Wednesday doing a press conference. I'm like, hey, look at us. We're back on schedule, everybody. You know?
Look at us. Yeah. That's the best.
Who would have thought? Not me. But no, it's weird to sort of settle back into a schedule. And with Leagues Cup coming up on Wednesday, it should settle on that. We'll just sort of put this out here now because I haven't figured out the solution for it yet, although I have some ideas for it. But Mr. Baxter informed me that he has to keep covering the Dodgers, and apparently they're playing on Monday nights for like the next 5 weeks. So he probably won't be on the. He might have to have a little. Apparently he didn't have enough of the Angels beating up on the Dodgers and the whole thing. It rarely happens. It's not something anybody should worry about. I'm just, as an Angels fan and someone who watched the Dodgers growing up most of their lives as well, I don't panic about it. It's a fluke. Okay, you got to enjoy it.
You got to enjoy it when it happens. That was for whatever reason this year they have the Dodgers figured out. But yeah, maybe the Panda will have some fun covering a winning team or a team that wins a little bit more often
than the Galaxy.
Than the Galaxy. So we'll see how that works out.
It is. It's weird. It's weird to see where the Galaxy are. And again, they do all this stuff in Leagues Cup, and you sort of feel like there's some momentum, Eric. You're starting to be like, hey, maybe, you guys watching? Maybe. And then they go and play Seattle. Listen, they're not a deep team. I don't think that's not a shock or surprise to anybody now. And last year was a complete opposite. When you were bringing guys off the bench like Diego Fagundes, and when you're bringing guys off the bench like, Gaston Brugman. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, then now you're a deep team, right? And now
Marco Royce was your super sub Yeah, when he was your luxury item, that was nice, and it was just it was a thrashing, a good old fashioned Seattle butt whooping, which we were not unaccustomed to
Right.
in the previous seasons. But it's like, oh yeah, that's what it's like to play Seattle at home. Shades of again, with no disrespect, Daniel Stairs and Jordan Morris just
Right.
absolutely beating up on one another. As an ugly game, we got to see the big win, to close out the League's Cup stage against Santos. And this just felt like the inverse, where we got to play the role of Santos in this game, which was just the complete opposite. Ugly goals, really. I mean, not really bangers or goals where like, man, what a beautiful team goal. Just rebounds, ricochets, just an ugly way to lose. So it was, they rolled over, seemed to fold in on themselves once, everything went from bad to worse. So it was not a fun time, especially when you look at the nice little run that they made in League's Cup.
Can I have to put out a couple shout outs early here in the chat room because they already got me giggling. Mr. Provino says if the Galaxy had to play 162 games, how many would they lose?
Wow. This year?
This year, 120. All right, with the way they're playing, it would not be 100. 100 for
the number
sure.
is
Over
100.
Yes.
The over/under is at 100. 100%. Yeah.
There you go. And then the other one is Darren says, unfortunately, this year the only depth the Galaxy have is in the standings.
Yeah.
Right, and they are
Can't
deep
go
there.
Can't go any deeper than where they are right now. That's for sure.
The thing, and I think maybe I got called out as a Seattle fangirl on Monday night's podcast, which I was. I watched that game. I was like, these guys they won with economy, Eric, and it drives me crazy that the Galaxy can't figure out how to win with economy on a regular basis, which is, listen, we tried just hard enough to score those goals. We didn't overburden ourselves. We didn't overwork ourselves. Nobody is wrecked for the next game. Everybody, It was just like, we're going to score whenever we decide to score, and then we're going to shut it down again. Then we're going to score, and when we decide to score, their patience, and again, this word is overused when you talk about Seattle, but the maturity of Seattle is just so evident. And I would hope that with the core the Galaxy are trying to sort of create as we go into 2026, that they start to have some of that. Because they didn't even have that in 2024. The Galaxy were not an economical team in 2024. They were balls to the wall, score as many goals as you can, and maybe we'll hold on for defense. And it worked out for them, right?
Yeah. I would argue that they fought for every inch that they got in 2024. And that's actually been one of my critiques of this season's LA Galaxy team. It seems like every opportunity is a sweat and a run, and you're putting blood, sweat, and tears into every single move just to get a half chance. And then other teams get a quick counter, bounces off two knees and it goes in, and it's just that simple. So that's actually been one of my critiques, is the Galaxy overwork themselves, make it too difficult. Instead of playing the simple game, they overcomplicate things just to get those little chances. I remember, I think in El Tráfico, we were, in the text chat back and forth. It feels like the Galaxy, die for every single inch of the ball, and then they, their rivals just go and on the counterattack, boom, they get a chance. And so you felt that very much in this Seattle game, where the Galaxy just could not get things going, and it was just too simple for their opponent. They made things too easy. And I don't know if calling you a Seattle fanboy or fangirl or whatever it is the right thing, but it's discipline is what it comes down to. I think when you see a team who doesn't overexert themselves, handles their business, knows what their challenge is, they don't play up to their level, they don't play down to up to a competition, down to a competition, they just play how they play. You have to kind of, I think you said it on Monday, some games you just tip your cap to the other team and say they beat us. And there are plenty of games where the Galaxy can say we made mistakes, we shot ourselves in the foot, they dug themselves a hole where you couldn't get out of, and that is the case in some games. That wasn't this game. This game, they weren't on the same level as the Seattle team that was on the field.
I mean, that was whenever I first talked to Greg Vanny in postgame, I was like, how much of that was you guys and how much of that was just Seattle coming in? He's like, you have to give it some of it to Seattle for sure, right?
Yeah.
And again, the Galaxy didn't win their duels. They weren't overly physical. And this team, I think there was a good discussion going on in the Discord. This team is not a physical team. Name the guys off who do you think is physical on this team? I had 3 guys that I sort of go, these guys are physical. Maybe 4.
It's Edwin Cerrillo.
See, that was my borderline. I think Edwin can be sometimes, but I also think that a lot of times he's more absorbing.
Well, if maybe that says a lot about who this team is. If Edwin Cerrillo is the guy who you're looking for as your muscle, I think Emiro Garces is another one who's physical, almost to a detriment. So I got two.
He's the top one, like for me.
And then Cuevas, I don't know if he's physical, but he has a scrap to him, a fight to him.
There's an X dog. There's the X dog factor is not necessarily what I would call physical, because you could see Cuevas will come running in and try to like tackle anybody. I wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
No, it's somebody who doesn't start a lot.
Doesn't start. Well, is it? I was going to say Fagundes is the other one, but it's a little more X dog than it is physicality.
I think he's physical. I think he gets into physical challenges, so I'll give you that one. To me, the last one was Sanabria for me, right? So Sanabria, like the three main ones for me are Sanabria, and he does get physical. He's not always in the position to make that play, but he wants to be physical. So Sanabria, Garces by far is the number one answer.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding up on the board for sure. Fagundes is in there for me. And then like you can sort of go Cerrillo, and again, Cuevas is more just aggressive than I would say physical. Right?
Yeah, that's fair. And I think that's the issue though. That's where you start scratching your head. I think, and maybe this is, says a little bit more about who I am as a person than my tactical knowledge, but I'm a believer in a bruiser, in someone who can, fight your battles and clean up your messes. I think Guesman Brugman was a lot of that for Ricky Puig in the past few seasons, and I think that paid dividends because you had a protector out there. You look at what Miami did; they went out and got Rodrigo de Paul to come in. He's basically the Messi bodyguard,
yep. Mm-hmm.
and so there's a reason why you need guys like that on your team. They're not necessarily going to be the flashiest players and the best players, but you need people like that. And I think that is something that this Galaxy team is missing. If Emiro Garces and Edwin Cerrillo are the guys, and again, with no disrespect to them, but if that's who you're hanging your hat on, then okay, maybe you kind of need to look for some different options and strengthening up that midfield.
And again, I tend to have a little bit longer view than I think most do. I also tend to have a little more patience than most do. And some of that is, and I hate to say this, but some of it is 17 seasons of watching the LA Galaxy play and talking to players and talking to coaches and doing all that. I hope that I have learned a little bit of patience to understand that things change every year. One of the craziest exercises I go through is I create a roster, and then you put in the birthdays of everybody, and then that roster auto-calculates the average age of the team every single time you open the roster. And that changes throughout the entire year, which is crazy to me. Like, it's not like there's something about like when you say you put a team together, you think it's static, right? Like you're like, oh, I put this team together. I have these guys. Looking at that roster reminds me all the time that this is dynamic. It changes, which means the guys that you have right now, as you're trying to predict and go through, are going to be a year older next year. So they have changed. Something has changed, and so it is not the same. And you're going to bring in new guys, and that's going to fluctuate too. But looking at all that stuff, so I always sit there and say, okay, I think that Lucas Sanabria actually could be a really good player for the LA Galaxy. I think that he's not there yet, and certainly I haven't seen enough this year to be like, oh, I'm super excited, the whole deal. But I've seen guys develop in the time that I've been watching the LA Galaxy to where you're like, oh, okay. I mean, Dejan Joveljic is kind of one of those guys, different positions and stuff, but it was, sort of after the first year, okay, sure, okay, sure, whatever. And then it took time to develop that. And then what you see is with the U22s is that when they get into the 23s, 24s, 25s, which is those years, that's when you're starting to see them hit. So there's an investment currently with like Nascimento and Sanabria. And now we have to wait for that to play out. And you don't want to wait for that to play out in a season like this. You need answers right away, right? But I think you have to wait for it to play out.
And if you're the double-edged sword with this is that if you are too patient with it, then they age out of the U22 spot, and then you have to pay them a regular salary, and then so now you develop this guy who you can't reap the benefits from. And I think that's what you're seeing from Dejan Joveljic. You developed him, he hit his peak, and then you couldn't afford to keep him anymore. And so I think that's something that maybe revisiting the U22 spots and where you get those the value that it brings to you, you maybe don't get to reap all the benefits of development. And that's something where, you need to kind of get a guy who is still developing, but is still going to be able to deliver. Someone who I've changed my mind slightly with Dejan Joveljic when he had, was coming off the bench and was proclaiming himself as the future of the LA Galaxy. Yeah, he wasn't there yet. And even in the season when they didn't go out and get the big striker,
right.
I wasn't 100% a believer. But I saw glimpses. I was like, I can see what this guy will be. Yeah. With Nascimento at the beginning of the season, I didn't see it at all.
Right.
I'm starting to see a little. Okay. I kind of see how this can be a decent MLS number 9, but I'm still not sold that he's the guy that you need to go and pick up on loan. And then Sanabria, I feel like, is right in that same zone where I can see how this would be a benefit. And I apologize for being a broken record on this. We were also sold that he was not solely a number 6. Right. I think if you wrap your mind around, okay, this is a number 6, a defensive midfielder, someone who's a Cerrillo, can grow alongside Cerrillo, and you can mix and match them and not necessarily have to play them at the same time. If you can wrap your head around that, I'm okay with it. But when you're using those U22 spots on someone who you need to deliver offense, to deliver assists, to deliver goals, he's not that. And so that leaves me more underwhelmed on the Sanabria. I understand where you see the patience on where he can go, but to me, I've been underwhelmed with what he's brought to this team.
100%. No, I don't think it's just. There's lots of people who are just get him off the team, that type of thing, and I'm sort of like, with U22s, you could be playing that game for a long time. You get rid of them, you move them, and you bring in another U22, and then you have to do it again because there's a reason there is an incentive to bring in U22s. Is because it's risky. Right. Mm-hmm. It's like if you go and I think I tried to talk about this on the last couple of podcasts, but there's these in your prime players, and in your prime players are usually your most expensive pieces, but they're the least doubt about what you're going to get. Yeah. Right. And so you're sort of like, okay, got it. But you're going to spend a considerable amount of money on those in your prime players because they're supposed to be your best players. Then there are the risky. As you get away from in your prime, either younger or older, you get more risky, right? And so that's where the Galaxy, because of their salary cap, had to get more risky. So they put more emphasis on U22, right, with Nascimento and with Sanabria, and then they put more emphasis on older, right? And Zonka was not a replacement for Neil. There has been no replacement for Neil. Zonka was a replacement for Cáceres. And so as the Cáceres role, Zonka probably fits that role okay, right? Where you're sort of like, okay, he's a little bit older. He's not going to play all the time, the whole deal. And then you don't go and get a Neil replacement, right? And so now he has to play more.
Let me go back to the physical conversation. Man, Martin Cáceres, talk about a guy who you'd want on your side on a fight, a guy who brings that extra something. Yep. That's the type of guy who maybe you miss, a Guesman, Brugman, a Martin Cáceres. And Zonka has shown that his ability to get into it, he goes in there, but I think he gives you a lot less on the defensive side, which makes it more of a liability. If someone's going to give you that physicality, that's okay, but you do want... Eventually, you want your defenders to play defense. That's my hot take for the night.
They're going to need to do that. That is 100%. No, it's just, and so you sort of see those trade-offs that I think the Galaxy made this year. And listen, they didn't work out. I mean, you can see that. That being said, again, this team shouldn't be that bad. What you've seen from the Galaxy in the last 12 matches played across all competitions, so dating back to May 31st, it's sort of when things turned a little bit for the Galaxy. Across all competitions, they're 5-3-4. Right? That is, as Matt Doyle quite honestly said in his recap of the LA Galaxy, that's a playoff team if they just do that through the rest of the year, right? It's sort of like, yeah, okay, cool, but it's this little tiny sliver of the season now where we've seen an actual somewhat impressive LA Galaxy where you're like, hey, they're not playing horrible all of a sudden, and we've sort of seen it. Then you go into Seattle and it sort of throws away all of that reminder. I think Greg Vanny in our press conference tried to remind us. He goes, we haven't been playing that bad. Like if you go back and look at the games that we've had, he goes, like recently we've been doing pretty good. This is an outlier to that. I do see it. I do see the Seattle game as those 5 or 6 games this year where the Galaxy just did not show up and got completely played off the field.
And that happens from season to season. As someone who goes to Frisco, Texas in the summer, in July, the last few years when they play FC Dallas, and it's in the heart of the summer and it's late in July and it's 100 degrees and the Galaxy just didn't get up for those games in championship seasons. They didn't get up for those games. So those games are going to happen no matter what. The unfortunate thing for the Galaxy is the season didn't start in May. It started much sooner than that. And I think so it's great. Hey, we've been playing great since May. Well,
can we just count those?
Tell you. I don't know how to tell you this, but the season started in early March. Yeah.
The season's over
Yes.
for you guys.
Hate to break it to you.
Hate to break it to you. Sorry about that.
But to that run of form where you said that, I think that 5-1-4, 5-3-4?
5-3-4. 5-3-4. 25 goals for, 19 goals against.
Okay, so that's essentially like a 500-ish
Real close.
team.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I think without Ricky Puig, without Dejan Joveljic, that's kind of what we were expecting. The team, they weren't going to be competing for a shield. They weren't going to be competing for first and second in the West. Maybe they can sneak in on a 7 or a 6 seed, and then Ricky Puig comes back, and then you let the magic happen in the playoffs. That run at the beginning of the season, that winless streak, just totally submarined everything, and it made you revisit. But
was that
I
this year? Was that this year they went 16?
Like 7 years ago.
Okay,
yeah.
I just wanted to make 16 games winless, if I remember correctly, off the top of my head, without looking at my charts. 16 games. I wanted to make sure that was this year, 2025.
That'll do it.
Okay.
Yeah. So that has to count. So as great as you've been since May, we're not counting since May. We're going all the way to the beginning of the season, and you have to factor that in. Yes, they've gotten better, but you see other teams who bring other international signings in and other U22s, and they're able to get some results. You look at the standings, 16 points, 19 points. That's really anemic. And there are other teams with bad. When you look at the rosters, you say, this Galaxy roster isn't worse than, a Montreal, than, even San Jose Earthquakes is as much improved as they are this season. You think, well, it's not much worse than that roster. Real Salt Lake, some of these teams, you start running through the Rolodex of Western Conference foes, and he goes, and it doesn't make sense. But at the end of the day, they did this to themselves.
Yeah, I was in the Discord and somebody says, it's not like we suck. I'm like, no, they suck. Like the standings prove that out. They suck. If we're looking for the definition of sucking, the Galaxy are doing that this year, right? And that's disappointing. I do get they didn't even let us enjoy it. They didn't even let us enjoy the MLS Cup, which I thought was a good take. I understand that, the whole deal. But you know what? You don't really get to enjoy them anyway. They're fleeting little moments, and then you will hang your hat on them for the rest of the time. They're always there. They as you have said, Eric, and I have quoted this many times, both to fans and players and front office personnel, is they don't take the trophies away. They stay in the cabinet. So it's there.
The trophies stay in the cabinet. We're going to make shirts. Eventually I'm going to be able to monetize my saying there and make it work. I'd counter argument. I think we did enjoy it. I think everyone basked in the glow after you won it, after the 10-year drought, and I think that maybe is part of the issue, is maybe the players who were returning maybe enjoyed it a little too much, and we're saying, hey, we just won. We got this. It's going to be easy. Yeah. It's like riding a bike. It's going to come back. And then you just kept falling on your face. And then, oh, wait, no, this is difficult. It's a sport. It is something that, requires a lot more effort. And so my argument would be maybe we enjoyed it a little too much and hung our hat on it too long. But again, maybe that's just perception from the outside looking in.
It is. It's a strange sort of way to look at it. There was another comment in the Discord that says, the Galaxy are going to go, if the Galaxy over the next 10 years would win an MLS Cup and then finish Wooden Spoon, then win an MLS Cup and finish, and they do that over the next 10 years. I was like, they'd be the greatest team in Major League Soccer ever in history, and we throw it away. And the people are like, I couldn't handle it. I'm like, what are you talking about? You're winning the championship every other year? Like, I am.
I was going to say, how long have you been here? Because we just did handle it. We just went through it. So again, do it again. I'm with you. There's 30 teams in the league now. So if every 10 years you won, you have to figure. You're right that you'd be the winningest. You'd remain the winningest MLS Cup winning team, which they currently are right now.
It is one of those.
It's going to take a lot to overthrow the Galaxy, even now, as bad as they are.
Yes, I know. It feels crazy. Just to remind everybody, yes, I have one of those awesome rings. Eric doesn't have one. You don't have one, right? Did you pay somebody?
I don't have one. I hear that, people in, the Galaxy organization listen to the show, enjoy my work, and they don't want to, enjoy what I do. No one asked for my address. No one asked for anything.
Hey, buddy, what do you think I'm doing with mine? They said they were going to give me one. Well, again, not one of the 5,000 that was handed out at the gate. like to point this out. I would need to be very clear on this. This is they make some extra for like the team, for the players all get them, right? Like that type of thing. So they do all this stuff, and there's some separate like marketing ones, and that's one of the ones that I have. They're the exact same, but I just don't want you to think I'm taking one. But I don't even feel good having this, Eric. So that's why I'm giving it away. So
fair enough.
If you are interested in entering, you have until tomorrow night. So Friday night at midnight at 11:59 p.m. shuts down. 11:59 on Friday night. I will shut it down, and then I will do the drawing, and we will announce the drawing, I think, on Monday of our next podcast. God only knows who my co-host will be, but we'll figure it out.
It'll be somebody.
It'll be, or it'll be me again. Who knows?
And I've also heard, this season the Galaxy, isn't getting the best, most favorable reactions from the fan base this season, and some of it fair enough if you want to call it that. But I will say that there were, I don't know what, I didn't have a conversation as far as sharing some of this information, but I know there were a separate batch, like you said, of rings that were handed out to certain employees and players and different things. And I did have a conversation with a season ticket member who was kind of unlucky in terms of the ring giveaway. They had a conversation in passing with a LA Galaxy front office member who is recognizable, and they kind of made a slide joke to them about not getting a ring, and that front office employee made certain that this season ticket member got a ring by the end of the night by leveraging the extra stash and figuring out those different things. So there are people doing good things to do right by the fans. So don't confuse messaging that, maybe going around. And there's already people who think that Corner of the Galaxy is state media for the LA Galaxy, and they forget that we're independent and we say whatever we want. But I'm going off interactions that I've had, stories that have been told to me by people who I know and I trust. And so there are good people trying to do really good things for this organization, for this fans. It's easy to be snarky. I'm the king of snark when it comes to making fun of how bad we are and mistakes that this club goes through. Part of that is fun, and you kind of have to laugh at yourself. But there are people who are trying really hard to do right by the fans and to get things done. So again, you giving out the rings that you get because there are people who go to every game and are diehards and deserve it. People notice that. So it's not just, the fans of the podcast or listeners of the podcast, fans of the team. People in the organization are really trying to do their best. Does it work out great every time? No. Just like the LA Galaxy players, they want to go undefeated. They want to win every single game. Yep. But sometimes you hit the mud and you go 16 winless. So it happens. So, you hit your rough patches. But I was reaffirmed with, following up on some interactions we've had with people in the organization, and then hearing, okay, there are people in there trying to make things right. And I need to throw that out there because right now I think there's a lot of, reputations maybe aren't great right now. And I think it's not all bad. I think we need to maybe pause, take a step back and really think about what it is that what we're focusing on. If it's making right by the community, it's some of it is happening.
Yeah, there's certainly people who are trying. And I think I mentioned on Monday, all of the promos and everything have been purchased this year, right? Purchased and produced, and that all gets done way ahead of time in the whole deal. So that's something. I think the Spider-Man scarf, the Marvel scarf's coming up. I think there's going to be 20,000 of those, if I remember correctly. So there's a bunch of those. But there is certainly an understanding that they need to have more than 5,000 of things, right? So I would expect that number, I don't know what that number is. Maybe it's 7,000. Maybe it's 10,000. Maybe it's 12,000. I don't know what that number is, but there is sort of an understanding that they go. So if you want to win this ring, your 2005 replica championship ring, if you would like to win it, put your first name, your last name, and send me an email at cornerofthegalaxy@gmail.com. cornerofthegalaxy@gmail.com. I'll put you in for a random. We'll have my fancy dancy AI picker person go and pick whoever it is, and we'll let you know on Monday. So we will send out an email to the winner. If you don't get an email, you didn't win. Okay, so
you'll know by Monday evening or Tuesday morning that you did not win. So
I think I have
no need to reply.
Yeah, I think I have about 200 maybe plus entries so far. So let's see if we can get that number up a little bit higher. But I'm certainly happy to get this to whoever wins this. So don't put it on eBay. If you put it on eBay, I'll be sad. All right, I won't do anything. I'll just be sad. That's all. Yeah. So
and
that's that.
I trust the listenership of this show to be upstanding citizens who are who are wanting to win the ring because it's something that they want to have in their collection. As someone who is not afraid of a tchotchke, I feel like this is our people.
What?
The people who
Me?
Yeah, the people who want these rings.
I did send Eric a photo from the office at work. And some of you will remember this. For our 700th show, remember now we're at over 1,230, I believe, right now.
It's crazy.
So for our 700th show, Eric and I dressed up in tuxedos, and we launched. We had confetti like the confetti cannons, right? Yeah, we had confetti cannons, and we launched those at the end of the show. We did it right. And as of like last week, I still find confetti from the confetti cannons. And that was like years ago, Eric. That was
like
the AC. 5 years,
Yeah.
6 years? Let's see, 2017, right? Or 2018?
Yeah.
Zlatan was there.
It was probably 2018. Because, I had been in the fold a little bit. Yeah.
Right.
But we were still in person, side by side,
yes,
doing the show. So it had to be 2018.
2018. So that's
pre the dark times.
So that wasn't that. That was a long time ago.
2019. Yeah.
Okay.
But I remember you would send pictures every once in a while. Hey, still finding confetti. But it's been probably a couple years since you sent me one of those. So I'm happy to see the confetti's still alive and going.
Still alive. Still found it. For a while there, it was coming down every couple minutes out of the air conditioning vent. Let's get you a little bit turned towards this Miami game. Now, on Monday, I gave you information about the LA Galaxy Unified team. Hopefully you caught that. I'm still such a huge fan of these athletes and the partners that are out there and doing amazing things. I have bad news because it's not good news, and I refuse to pretend that it is good news. The promised trip to Miami is going. They are on their way. I believe they leave tomorrow, Friday, to go travel to Miami. This is the unified team. The LA Galaxy already arrived today in Miami, I believe this afternoon. So they're there ready to go rock and roll for Saturday. But the LA Galaxy unified team will be taking off and going there. Now, it was going to be at Chase Field, which is the main field for Inter Miami. And it was going to be held before the game and sort of set in that position. That apparently has changed, and that's not cool. They are not going to get to play on Chase Field, which was sort of like one of the reasons that you do this is to go. If you've noticed, the LA Galaxy Unified team always plays after the LA Galaxy senior side, right? And so they get to play on
Dignity Health Sports Park,
right? Yeah. In the actual stadium where it's that where everything goes on. So they're not going to get to. They are going to go to a practice facility, and it's Miami's brand new practice facility. So it's going to be really nice. I'm sure it's great. Sure, it's nice. It was going to be live streamed, and I had already sent out information about the live stream and told you where you could find it and how it was going to go. And as of this morning, I was still told that it was still going to be live streamed. Everything was still ongoing, like the whole deal, even though that they changed it to playing well before the first team. They were basically going to play at, let's see if I can pull it out here. They were going to be played at like 11:40 on Pacific time, right? Yeah. So
it's still quite a bit earlier than the game.
Than the big game. But on the main stadium, if you were going to do it, the whole deal. Well, they did now move that game, and they moved it up an hour to 10:40 a.m. Pacific time, and it will no longer be live streamed. So those athletes, they're getting a raw deal. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah,
That's
that
just
sucks.
I would say that it would be one of those things where you're providing this unbelievable experience, and it's still going to be a pretty cool experience. I'm not going to completely poo-poo it, but it was supposed to be something different, and it was sold as something different, and now it's sort of not that. And I'm disappointed. But you know what? I was talking to some of the assistant coaches and stuff. They're still pumped. They're still ready to go. So we throw all our support behind the LA Galaxy Unified team. You can look for updates at the LA Galaxy Foundation Instagram. All right. So that's where you can do it. So I was going to tell you we could all jump on the live stream and we could all, watch and you could sort of cheer on the whole thing. But yeah.
Of all the weeks to have the rug pulled out from under them too, because we've always been supporters of the unified team, and I know whenever there's tryouts, we try to give the announcement that tryouts are happening, and I know there's a lot of people who have been part of the teams who are listeners of the show and reach out, and so we're big supporters of the team, and I know you made an effort to do the interviews there and to talk to the team.
Not an effort at all, by the way. Very honored to have been chosen. Yes, but I went out. I wanted to do it.
But this was the week where we were going to highlight them because of the road trip to Miami.
Yep.
It's a big marquee matchup.
Yep.
And then to have this as of Monday, it was happening, and then now that rug's pulled out from under them. Like you said, I'm sure it'll be fine. But part of the appeal and the enjoyment of these games is they get to play in the big stadiums either right before or right after the matches. I know, and it doesn't have to be just because it's Miami. I know they've gone to Colorado, they've gone to Chicago, and you see them playing in the big stadium, and that's what the enjoyment is playing in those stadiums, because that's the feeling that you want to give to people who are part of these, organizations. So I'm bummed to hear that it was the rug was pulled out from under them. I'm sure it'll be great, but again, we can still send our support. I'm sending my support to the unified team, wishing them the best, hoping they get a W this weekend, wishing for lots of goals, lots of success, and hope they have a great time, because it's a great program. I just wish things, maybe worked out a little bit different, and maybe, because they did some changes, the people working with Inter Miami will maybe pull some strings to make this a worthwhile experience for them, because there might be some players who are not playing in the game. So maybe they can go, make a visit, take some pictures, shake some hands, sign some autographs. Maybe that'll make it okay.
Mr. Provino says, can we blame Messi and his bodyguard for this? Probably. I mean, MLS is trying to, certainly. So, the LA Galaxy take on Inter Miami coming up at Chase Stadium on Saturday, August 16th. This game is at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time. Kickoff 15-minute lead-in. So 4:45 is going to be your kickoff time for this particular game. So please be ready for all of that. There are some official watch parties going on out there. The LA Galaxy at Inter Miami, Saturday, August 16th at Jameson's Pub in Culver City. Kickoff at 4:30. Again, 4:45 is your actual kickoff. But it's buy one, get one Modelo's. I need to buy one, get one Modelo's. Is
Modelo time, yeah.
It is. It's always Modelo time. Oh,
it's funny. Since I've moved, there's a lot of breweries in this part of the country. Texas, known for being proud servers of their own beer. I miss just a Modelo. Every once in a while, you need a good Modelo. Harder, not that it's harder to find, but it's one of those. Oh yeah, I forget just a nice crisp Modelo watching the Galaxy. So again, if you're not going to be in Miami enjoying, how this game is going to go, you might as well be drowning your sorrows with some Modelos. So again, what better way to celebrate the Galaxy going out there and doing whatever they're going to do on Saturday.
Yep, absolutely. So we'll watch that and sort of see how everything goes for the LA Galaxy, and I'm excited to sort of see how that leads out. Now, this game is an interesting one, and it comes at an interesting time. And Adam gave us $2 super chat and said, is this the first time the LA Galaxy goes winless on the road? Well, I don't know that Miami is going to be the place where you pick it, but again, it comes at this weird time, and that weird time sort of looks and says that Miami has a Leagues Cup game coming up on the 20th on Wednesday. The LA Galaxy have a Leagues Cup game coming up on the 20th. Talking to Greg Vanny this week was interesting, because I sort of said, hey, is this game more of a distraction? Whenever you really, your priorities are probably on the more consequential game that comes up on Wednesday. And he goes, yeah, they're very much still in this one game at a time, but I call BS on this one, like particularly. This is the one
outlier.
Yeah, and it's not about like one game at a time on this. It's about what are you doing on Wednesday night. And I think that both Miami and the LA Galaxy are in a similar position, except that Miami thinks that they are still somehow in the Shield race. I know that they have, 3 games in hand. I know that they have to play all these games, but that means they have to play a ton of games in a short amount of time. Yep. Leo Messi is injured right now, and I do not expect him to play this weekend. I'm not a Miami insider, but that is just why would you do it whenever he's going to have to play on Wednesday night, whenever they're playing against Tigres, and Tigres is a really good team, right? And for the LA Galaxy, how do they change things up? And Greg Vanny was sort of told me they're trying to keep some team continuity, because you don't just want to be like, hey, you're not going to play for a whole week and a half, basically for some of these guys, that getting some minutes and doing that stuff is important. But I just don't know how focused the entire team will be on this game. Their season is over, right, in terms of league play. Yeah. They've never lost to Miami. Maybe that's something they hang their hat, but they do not want to go out there and try to battle a Miami team in heat and humidity all the way across the country, when they know they have to fly all the way back, and then on Wednesday night they have to play Pachuca, right? And so I just can't find it in me to prioritize this Miami game in any way, shape whatsoever. And for me, I rotate in this game. And, if maybe if it's not a full rotation, maybe it's a second half rotation where you're like, all right, here was 60-minute and here's all 5 subs that Marco's out. Like, all the big guys are sort of out. I don't know how to balance that, but that's why Greg Vanney's sort of in charge of this stuff.
Yeah, my concern is that there's only 5 guys that you can rotate, so that's what makes it tricky if you want to do kind of a full rotation. I'm not a fan of starting any familiar faces. I know it's not going to be a brand new 11. You're going to have some continuity there, but I think you made the point that their regular season is done, and all the eggs need to be in the League's Cup basket. So I don't think that you can prioritize this game. I don't think you should see Marco Royce at all. I think you should see a Christian Ramirez or a Miguel Berry. This, remind everyone that they're still on this team and get them on these starting lineups because you want to save Nascimento for that game. Maybe for continuity's sake, you do bring him in as a late sub, or you decide to sub early. The subbing decisions by Greg Vanney this season, especially when they go down in games 4-0 and hope looks to be lost, and you're still seeing Marco Royce in the 91st minute not able to run. It's like, okay, what are we doing here? Let's try to make some decisions. So I do think you talked about how Seattle won their game, economically. I think this needs to be a business decision, not only because of the League's Cup, but you hinted at it with all the other factors that go against it. Cross-country travel. When do the Galaxy play the worst? When they're going all the way to a New York City, and New York Red Bulls, a Montreal, a Miami, an Orlando. That's when you see the Galaxy play their worst soccer, because it's the full cross-country trip from West Coast to East Coast. Body clock. Drink if you're listening to the show and we said the magic words of body clock. They've been playing these games late, Leagues Cup games at 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 7:30 matchup. So now you're playing a body clock 4:30 matchup in the afternoon. It's still going to be later in the evening on the East Coast in Miami, but your body clock is going to have something different. And then the weather on top of that. This time of year, it's not going to be wonderful weather. There's been some storms late in the summer, so I think that's something you got to keep an eye out for with the humidity. So you factor it all in: bad weather, cross country travel, body clock issues, saving yourself for the League's Cup. And you have this one circled up. There may be games where you weren't expecting a shellacking, but this is one where you just turtle shell and you say, we're going to put a non-first choice lineup out there, and we're just going to hope that, we don't get beat up too bad and no one gets injured, and we're able to get on the flight back and have a good time, for Wednesday night. I think that's where we have to put all the eggs in that basket.
Yeah, if you're around Miami this time of the year, basically it is a chance of rain every single day from here for the next 10 days, basically. Saturday, about a 54% chance. It's scattered enough that maybe they'll get some in there. The big problem is, of course, you get the thunderstorms and everything like that. So let's see whether or not they don't have a Houston situation, which could absolutely happen. By the way, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world that you fly all the way over there and don't play and then fly back, and you'll just have to play another game.
Pump it all back.
Yeah, for the Galaxy as it goes. The bottom lines for me is Amiro Garces still doesn't look like he's likely to play. Greg was sort of saying he was questionable for Saturday, and then after that he would probably be probable for Wednesday. And I think that stays. There's no point in playing him. He's fine. Let him rest, and he'll come back up for you on Wednesday whenever you need him.
Let it cook. That's my mantra for this Saturday.
It's not a horrible idea. So, here's the other thing, though. I also think that Miami might rotate a little bit.
100%. That's the saving grace.
And so
someone said this is going to be another 7-0. And it's like, well, hold on. Miami's not going to be throwing Busquets and Jordi Alba and Suarez. You're not going to be seeing them go a full 90 minutes either. So that's where maybe you see one of the worst games of the season, two teams just going out there not to embarrass yourselves, and you see one of those 0-0, like, why did I watch this for 90 minutes type games?
Isn't that The Simpsons where they're just passing the ball back just sideways?
Portugal versus Mexico. Yeah, there you go. One of the greatest matches of all time there.
So I think that there's a chance there. Again, the Galaxy have never lost to Miami, which is something. They actually have a win, in Miami for this team. It was a little while back, but if you remember that,
Chicharito, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think Sasha Kljestan was in on that one. I think that was a Sasha Kljestan goal that got him up. So you look at the LA Galaxy and sort of what they're trying to do. I think there's some hope there. I think with some legs and maybe some rotation. Maybe you get one of those Bruce Arena, Real Salt Lake Wednesday night game sort of feelings to it, which is let's just try to
Colorado
steal,
Rapids special.
Yeah, just try to steal points at altitude, that type of thing. But if you watched Miami play Orlando, certainly there is room there with Miami without Messi to exploit, right? And I think that they have defensive issues. I think that they have I think they have transition issues sometimes because they're not the quickest team, certainly. So, they are there for the picking. It's one of the reasons that I can't sort of get behind them being a quote unquote favorite for anything in the league right now. I'm looking at other teams and I'm like, well, I don't know. But the difference is the X factor there is Leo Messi, and if he comes and he plays and he gets angry, I think Greg Vandy was sort of saying, he was like, yeah, I watched him and he had a couple he had 20 minutes where he sort of played bad and he didn't play that well, the whole deal, and then he got angry at himself and then he scored 2 goals. It was like one of those is like, oh, I'm angry now, I'm going to play, and that type of thing. But I don't think the Galaxy will have to worry about that. I do not believe that Messi will play in this game again. It doesn't, just timing wise, it doesn't make sense. If he was even possibly available, you shut him down and you play him on Wednesday night in the Tigres game. So that would be me.
I thought he was upset that he was getting suspended from games and not able to play. I thought he
really
really wanted to play in these games. I thought he was really willing to push himself. Yeah. He was upset that he got banned. So I don't know. Maybe we will see him really want to get out there and risk his body against the last place LA Galaxy, because he's a true gamer. He always wants to go out there and give his best. So, we know Lionel Messi always gives his best for Inter Miami.
That's what I hear. That's what I see. Again, to be fair, he is, whenever he plays, the best player in the league, and it's still not close.
I talk in jest, and I could say it's Messi and 10 bums.
Right.
But guess what? Messi and 10 bums is still going to be able to make light work of you. Yeah. But again, I've made myself. I've shared this before. I'm not a big fan of how Messi. I think Here's, you ready for the hot take?
Yeah.
I think he's set the league backwards. I think the league was going in a place where they could have possibly been a selling league. And I think now, because of his move over here, it's turned again into the aging superstar league. And I think that's part of Messi's doing. People are seeing it. They're following him here. It's not the up-and-coming league. And I think part of that is Messi's doing. I think he has set the league backward. And he's got more eyeballs on it and more eyeballs on Inter Miami. But as far as the league as a whole, I don't think he's done it many favors.
Well, again, you'd have to do press in order to actually promote the league if you were going to do that. And so, you don't see a lot of that coming out of the Miami camp. So, again, we'll sort of see how it goes. Now, let me just be very clear. D Ratings does not think the LA Galaxy are going to win this game. It's not even something that you should even think about. However, if you're a betting person, Eric, and you're feeling spicy, money to be made. There's a lot of, so again, I'll let you take it away. Tell everybody what we're seeing here with D Ratings.
So D Ratings has Inter Miami, again, based on form and everything going regardless of the rosters out there. They have Miami at a 64.9% chance to win. So like I was saying, this might be a turtle shell game for the LA Galaxy, and a 15.3% chance for the LA Galaxy, 19.8% chance for a draw. The big one is the betting line. If you think the LA Galaxy, second team, second choice, whatever you want to call it, can go out there and upset Miami because Miami might be playing their second choice. Plus 462 are the odds there. So again, bet $100, win 462. I like the math on that, but I just don't know anyone who has watched the LA Galaxy play during the 2025 season said, I'm going to bet $100 on the LA Galaxy, or $20 or $5 or even a nickel at this point. So I just don't know that anyone's willing to risk that possible return on investment. So again, we're not financial advisors, but again, there is money to be made, but you'd have to be have some pretty loose screws in order to make that bet.
I mean, put some money on the Galaxy, put some money on the draw, and then watch all your money run away as Miami wins it. I mean, the likelihood is that Miami wins this game. There is,
there's enough talent.
There's enough talent certainly on the field. I was sort of looking at their last lineup that they put together, with Suarez up top, and then you have DePaul in the center there now.
Still have Busquets, who still knows he's a magician with the ball and knows how to deliver. Alba's still dangerous. So again, they've got plenty of good players to make things happen.
Greg Vandy said that Busquets sort of has like Messi radar, that it doesn't matter where he is, he knows exactly where Messi is, and he can just find him. And as soon as you don't pay attention, Greg said that with them there is a lot of danger Even in positions where there's not normally danger, it can be dangerous very quickly. And so that's something that you sort of have to prepare for. So I have a feeling in this game that you're going to see more of a lineup than you expect. If it was me, I'd be rotating and doing the whole thing. I have a feeling Greg Vanney is not going to rotate as much as we think he is. It just by the way that he sort of answered the questions and sort of went in the way that I saw. And you can go up on YouTube. His interview there is up, so you can listen. But for me, I feel like he thinks that there has to be a little more continuity headed into Wednesday to make sure that they're ready, especially after the Seattle game. And then we have the question about the Seattle game. The Galaxy lose 4-0. Usually after a 4-0 where you looks like you didn't even play on the field, you want a reaction. And do the LA Galaxy get a reaction from this? How does that work?
Do they want to bounce back? Do the players who are on the field want to say that was the bad taste? I don't want to get the next time I get on the field was after a performance like they had in Seattle. So there's something there. I will say this, when you look at the Miami stats this season, Lionel Messi has 18 goals for them in MLS play. And after that, there is a pretty big drop off at Segovia with 7. And then, Suarez has 5 goals. And now you're talking LA Galaxy territory. Marco Reus in MLS play leads the Galaxy with 5 goals. So the drop off without Messi is significant. So I think that is something that you need to keep an eye out, as well as, okay, maybe the goals aren't going to be as free flowing. And you saw it happen against Orlando, where Orlando basically gave them a thumping when they didn't have their maestro in the middle there.
Yeah. And by the way, don't Miami have games in hand to win the conference? Is a question. Absolutely they do. But you're now getting into a crunch situation with them where they have to play all these games. I mean, so yes, if you add 9 points onto Miami's total right now with those, they only have, let's say they have 2 games in hand on Columbus and 3 on everybody else, right? Yeah, 20. There's some with 25, but 26. So they basically have 3 games in hand. Give them all 9 points to that. It would be 51 points, right? Which would tie them right now for the top with Philadelphia. But what we're not accounting for is 2, they're still in Leagues Cup. So they're going to have to sort of split rosters, much like the LA Galaxy. So the LA Galaxy don't have to care about the rest of the regular season because it's mostly gone. So you can sort of write it off, right? And so there is a more focus on a Leagues Cup than I think that Miami can do. The other part is they have to play 3 more games in the same amount of time as everybody else is playing just their regular amounts. So the schedule congestion continues for them, both with Club World Cup, now with Leagues Cup, right? And so that's a real question of whether or not they can weather that. And being in a hot and humid climate, you can be acclimatized to hot and humid climate. It doesn't mean that you play the same as if it's good weather, right? Like, yeah, everybody knows that's sort of what we're going to see whenever we see this game, on Saturday night. Miami is acclimatized. They'll be able to handle it a little bit better, but it's not like they're playing at 70 degrees and, a nice cool breeze blowing, right?
It's not going to be an easy game for them. I also think another consideration that you have to get, if you have the abacus out and you figure out where you're going to place your beads here, the Miami playing a West Coast team, if you're going to throw away a game, this could be a game that you throw away, because where do you want to make up those 3 games, or where do you want to make up your points? It's against your East Coast teams. You want to beat your Philadelphias. You want to beat your Cincinnatis. So those are the teams that you want to beat to make up points on. And so that might be more valuable to value those East Coast games. Again, who knows how much of this is truly something that they're going at, but that's something that you may have in the back of your head if you're trying to leverage. There's going to be schedule congestion. We need to get our most bang for our buck. So where can we do that? Maybe this isn't the spot, because we talk about those CONCACAF Champions Cup spots as well. Those are for top 3 finishers. So with the 8 teams that are in Leagues Cup right now, winning this quarterfinal match is huge, because it puts giving you an opportunity. So it's not more important than winning your 3rd place game or winning a semifinal to guarantee your spot. But if you're not in the semifinal, then you don't even have a chance to play for one of those spots. So this game is huge and important. So I think they are going to want to leverage their Leagues Cup match over, this match against the LA Galaxy. So just, again, something we have to check all the boxes and move all the beads and what is it, count all the beans, whatever it is, to make it all work.
Yeah, LA Galaxy schedule coming up. Miami on Saturday, and then Wednesday night it is that 8:45 p.m. kickoff time against Pachuca. It's 8:55 should be the kickoff time officially, and depending on what happens in that first game, could be even later than that. So August 20th is that midweek Leagues Cup game, and then the LA Galaxy will host Colorado and host Dallas to sort of close that out. We'll see what games end up playing depending on if the LA Galaxy advance or not. All right, let's go with predictions for the game, sir.
Oof.
This is you could throw numbers in a hat and it would be as accurate.
Again, the saving grace is that maybe Miami's not going to go all out to make it work, and so maybe the Galaxy have a chance. But I do think that you maybe almost as a Galaxy fan don't want to see the Galaxy put effort because you want them to focus on their Leagues Cup match, just like the argument that I was making for Miami. But I do think if you're comparing second teams, Miami's talent still outbeats the 2025 LA Galaxy's second team talent. So I think you still see a Miami win, a 3-1 win. I'm saying it right now. This is kind of all-star game level type effort that you want to see. I don't want to see tons of effort thrown in this game. I want to see a Christian Ramirez. I want to see an Eric Zavaleta. I want to see maybe a Miguel Berry sighting. I want it to be very clear that we are going all in on Leagues Cup. Sadly, I feel like we're going to lose, and I don't really care because this again, league play, that ship has sailed maybe 10 games into the season. So again, go all in on Leagues Cup. Talk to me next Wednesday.
A 2-1 Miami for me. I like your 3-1. I could see it going that way. I just don't think Miami will actually want to put in the extra effort to score the third goal once they were already winning 2-1. Yeah. And
fair enough.
And the Galaxy won't really want to
pass it around.
Yeah, I really like the idea that the LA Galaxy will have some sort of reaction in this game. Miami scores first and the Galaxy have energy to go ahead and score a goal. I'm like, how does that actually happen in the real game when you don't want them to sort of put energy in? It is what it is at this point. I know people get upset about this stuff, especially because we're just mail it in. I don't even care who shows up. Send Ventura County to play the game. I don't at this point. Because I think that Leagues Cup is the only place now where they could sort of have advantage. Again, you get to the semifinals, and you can get to a chance to play for a CONCACAF Champions Cup spot. Yeah, it means 2 more games. You have to get to the semifinals, and then you have to get to whatever you go there, and then you might have to win the third place game. If you make it to the final, you automatically have the CONCACAF Champions Cup spot. But there's something to play for there. There is nothing to play for the rest of the year. I know people are going to say Campeones Cup. It's a paperweight at this point. It means nothing. It has no standing. You get to brag about it, and the whole deal. But the Galaxy on pace.
I'm counting it.
Yeah,
I'm counting it.
You should. I mean, everybody will.
I've been banking on Campeones Cup since March. Again, Greg's counted since May, but again, to me, all I cared about was Campeones Cup because I thought that's all we had. But again, enter Leagues Cup.
There you go. See, that's what we got. So that's where it stands. The LA Galaxy taking on Inter Miami coming up on Saturday. Again, 4:30, 4:45 p.m. is your kickoff time on MLS Season Pass on Apple TV. That's where you can find it. Eric, anything else you want to talk about, or are we good?
No, just the one we've talked about. It's very easy for the armchair analysts to say, mail it in, you got Leagues Cup. But I think one thing that we often forget is that these players didn't make a professional roster without having that desire to want to win, regardless if it's a scrimmage, regardless if it's a game. So I think that's something that we need to not take for granted. The players who are going to be out there are going to be playing to win. And I think you can't forget that. So maybe we will see a little something special to give them the momentum going into that Pachuca match. But again, maybe I'm just being a little too, Pollyanna and thinking, is there something there? Giving myself more hope than I need to.
We'll certainly find out when the Galaxy play on Saturday afternoon. So check that out. Eric, tell people where they can find you. Let's go.
All right. As always, you can find me on social media at HammerEV and the number 9. So that's HammerEV9, HammerEV and the number 9.
If you're looking for me on any social media, it's at Galaxy Podcast. Head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com for all of the shows. That's where you can find, and of course, YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, any of those places you find your podcasts. You can find Corner of the Galaxy, especially on YouTube. Like and subscribe. We certainly appreciate it. When you ring, first name, last name. Send me an email, cornerofthegalaxy@gmail.com. Again, everything ends at 11:59 p.m. on Friday. We'll have a winner on Monday. For Monday, we'll get you recap for Miami, get you ready for Pachuca. I don't know who will be with me, but we'll figure it out. But we're back on our normal schedule. For Mr. Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira, I am Josh Pato Guesman. You've been listening, you've been watching to our little Corner of the Galaxy. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening. We ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.